Good morning, folks. My name is Ben Habib, Chairman of Unlock, doing my Ben in 10 stint at 11 a.m. I'm going to talk a little bit this morning about the Northern Irish Protocol. I had hoped to move on from it, but actually it has become the topic du jour today. Yesterday, we saw threats being made against Border Force in Northern Ireland by loyalists because of what's been happening with the inability of goods going from Great Britain into Northern Ireland as a result of that Northern Irish Protocol. And I think no doubt also reacting to the EU's attempt nearly a week ago now, to prevent life-saving vaccines from getting into the UK via the Northern Irish border. And the Northern Irish Protocol is something I have been going on about now for just over a year, ever since it was first announced, in fact, by Boris Johnson. Just to remind viewers, basically what the Northern Irish Protocol does is try to prevent putting a border on the island of Ireland, and it puts a border down the Irish Sea, something which self-evidently no British government should do. And indeed, Boris Johnson himself said in December 2018 that over his dead body would there be a border down the Irish Sea. He repeated a similar statement in August 2019. And then when he came out with his deal, this oven-ready, fantastic deal in October 2019, actually at the heart of it was this border down the Irish Sea. And as I said, I've been calling it out ever since. Sadly, the government didn't see the pernicious effects of the Northern Irish Protocol until they'd signed the withdrawal agreement. There was a belated attempt by the Prime Minister last year, in about September, I think, when he brought forward the Internal Market Bill to try and unpick some of the more pernicious aspects of the protocol, notably the trade between Northern Ireland and Great Britain and back again, as well as creeping control of EU state aid laws from Northern Ireland into the United Kingdom. But having made that first attempt to unpick the protocol, legislation which, by the way, he described as vital legislation at the time, he moved back from it. And within days, Michael Gove was saying that they were going to implement the protocol in full. So here we are, a month into the protocol having been in place, and we have difficulties with goods getting from Great Britain into Northern Ireland. We've got shortages of goods on the shelves in supermarkets. Even pets moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland are subject to checks and difficulties. So that protocol isn't working. And as I say, overnight, we've seen Arlene Foster come out against it. She said that she's going to move against any further implementation of it in Stormont, and she's going to be challenging the Prime Minister to roll it back. I'm delighted that she is taking the Prime Minister to task over it. What the Prime Minister now needs to do is recognise that there is no danger in putting a customs border in Ireland, where the border is at the moment between Northern Ireland and Ireland. That border already provides a division between two countries, two currencies, two different tax rates, and until recently, two different phytosanitary regions. That is where the customs border should be. And it does not breach the Good Friday Agreement. All that the Good Friday Agreement says is that we cannot have security infrastructure, in other words, military infrastructure on that border. It does not prohibit customs checks. So that whole narrative that Theresa May bought hook, line and sinker, I think probably because she was part of the creation of the narrative, that you cannot have a border on the island of Ireland, is a false narrative. What the Prime Minister needs to do now is wake up to the reality of the pernicious effects of partitioning the UK, which, by the way, we're the only country in peacetime to have ever done that voluntarily. Wake up to it and make it clear to Ireland and to the EU that the customs border is now going to be put on the island of Ireland. Having said all of that, I'm now going to turn to questions that I've received overnight from various people. Bear with me while I find my glasses. The first question actually was on the protocol that I had from Peter Sonics. And his question was, can the UK withdraw unilaterally from the Northern Irish Protocol? Well, actually, the UK can do whatever it wishes to do. It may be a breach of international law, withdrawing from the Northern Irish Protocol. But within the United Kingdom, Parliament is sovereign. And the Prime Minister can easily repudiate the protocol if he wishes to. It would require a lot of planning, it would require a great deal of political will, and it would require making sure that there was an operable border on the island of Ireland, but he can definitely do it. And when he brought the internal market bill forward last year, that was an attempt in that direction. Sadly, he dropped that bill for reasons that have never been explained. My second question moves on from Northern Ireland. And the question is, what would Ben do to level up the UK? Economic incentives to get business into Midlands, North and coastal areas. Well, I'll just deal with coastal areas first, which in a sense is the easiest question to deal with. If we had taken back proper control of our fish, of our waters, and we'd given UK fishermen 100% of the fishing rights, and in anticipation of giving them 100% of the fishing rights, we had invested in coastal communities, building ships, providing grants for apprenticeships, building processing plants and so on, we would have had by now, 4 years on, remember, from the 2016 vote, we would have by now a vibrant fishing community. There are 186 coastal constituencies in the United Kingdom. That is nearly a third of all constituencies. A third of the country would have been in a much better economic position if the Prime Minister had only done what he said he was going to do, which was take back total control of our fishing. So that's the first thing the Prime Minister should do, is get fishing back. Then as far as bringing forward the other areas, and it's not just the Midlands and the North, by the way, it is also parts of London need to be levelled up. Some of the highest unemployment in parts of London. And levelling up needs to take place in Wales, Scotland and Ireland. There are some really rich pockets in the southeast of England, but there are poor pockets in the southeast of England and nationwide. And the way to do this is to make sure that the United Kingdom has a first-class infrastructure, first-class rail system, first-class broadband system, first-class international beating universities, research-based universities that attract business. We've got maybe 3 or 4 at the moment, but we need to have many more. And he needs to bring those forward so that businesses can take advantage of the research facilities these universities offer, and they can do it with the great benefit of infrastructure around them. The second thing he needs to do is to roll back regulation. We've left the EU, that's a highly regulated institution. We need to roll back the regulations which don't suit the United Kingdom, of which there are millions. I haven't got enough time to go through them. He should roll them back. Every time you institute a regulation, you put friction in the way of business. And to get business going in any part of the country, you've got to roll back regulation. The third thing he needs to do is roll back taxes that affect the working class and the middle classes more than others. VAT, national insurance, tax on fuel, to name 3 taxes. Those are the ones he should focus on straight away, in my opinion. Next question. We are now isolated as an island with higher trading costs on imports impacting on business. My question is, name one solid benefit to the average family of Brexit. Well, in the last few weeks, we've seen one major benefit of Brexit. If we hadn't Brexited, AstraZeneca, in association with Oxford University, would not have been able to get its life-saving vaccine out in the speed in which it has. The Prime Minister should be commended for having pre-purchased 407 million vaccines, for championing AstraZeneca, getting into contract with AstraZeneca way ahead of the European Union, and now having vaccinated 15% of the British population versus, I think, 1 or 2% in the EU. We are miles ahead of the EU in that respect, and that wouldn't have happened without Brexit. So wholehearted congratulations to the Prime Minister there, and a very tangible example of Brexit. And last question. We were told specifically by Bill Cash and co that by signing the treaty, we would retain our sovereignty. This is obviously not so, and maybe the powers that be should be informed that we have sussed them out. That's without mentioning our fishing industry. That's more of a statement by Jan Brady. But I have wholehearted sympathy with Jan. We were told we'd get our sovereignty back, and now we're seeing trouble in Northern Ireland. We were told by Michael Gove that we wouldn't have creeping control of EU state aid law in the United Kingdom, and we now know that we've got creeping control of EU state aid law in the United Kingdom. We were told by Boris Johnson we wouldn't sign into a level playing field with the EU. We've signed into a level playing field. We were told we would get back full control of our fishing. We haven't got full control back of our fishing, and indeed, probably it'll be very difficult to do it unless he has the political will to tear up the new agreement. So no, we haven't got sovereignty back. And the ERG and champions of Brexit in the Tory party need to be standing up, kicking and screaming. There's a time to congratulate the Prime Minister, and that is when he has done his job and fulfilled his promises. He has not done that yet. There is a long way to go to properly delivering sovereignty back. And it's not just an intangible drum-beating sovereignty to which I'm referring. I'm talking about sovereignty that allows the United Kingdom to set out a plan for the United Kingdom that is best for the people of the United Kingdom. And if the Prime Minister can do that, he will get total support and applause across the UK, and then it'll be self-evident for everyone why we Brexited. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. If you liked what you've heard this morning, please support us by clicking the blue support button on Facebook at Unlocked United Kingdom. Thank you.